When we came home, I wanted to know what happened during all those years. Think of yourself going 5.5 years with only information provided to you by your communist captors. I wanted to know how the anti-war movement began.
John and I were on different paths with respect to the war in Vietnam. My war was down in the Delta mostly, and seeing the war on a ground level led me to believe we were on a quixotic errand and made me a very vocal and determined anti-war activist after I came back.
Each day, to facilitate the process by which the United States washes her hands of Vietnam, someone has to give up his life so that the United States doesn't have to admit something that the entire world already knows, so that we can't say that we've made a mistake.
It didn't change my mind, but what was very revealing was how mishandled the conflict was and how there was never a strategy for victory.
Someone has to die so that President Nixon won't be, and these are his words, the first president to lose a war.
The most offensive to me was that we didn't tell the American people the truth. The American people become disillusioned when they're being told that victory is just around the corner, which it was not.
We're here because almost 19 years after the formal termination of the war in Vietnam, the POW-MIA issue still haunts America. The task of this committee, therefore, over the next year is clear. It is to prove to all concerned that we will leave no stone unturned, no question unasked, no effort unexplored in order to try to resolve this issue. Some might ask, what will make...
John Kerry and I were in strong disagreement concerning his activities against the war, but I also respect the fact that John Kerry served.
John, in his spirit of trying to reach out and put history in its proper place, became friendly with a lot of people who had opposed the war. And we began a conversation, which ultimately led the two of us to the same conclusion.
We agreed to work to get a full accounting of those who were missing in action and normalize relations between our two countries.
Tonight, the U.S. government has new information from Vietnam that could help determine what became of many of these Americans.
The promise to come clean was made over the weekend in Hanoi to retired General John Vesey and Senator John McCain. Vesey and McCain returned from Hanoi last night carrying an inventory of documents and photos hidden away in the Vietnamese archives.
I want to stress what General Vesey said just again. This is a beginning, a beginning.
Senator, come on over and talk to us.
In the last meeting about the normalization of relations with Vietnam, they still hadn't convinced Clinton to do it. Kerry made the informed, logical, compelling case for it, and then Clinton turned to McCain, and I'll always remember it. Just said, Mr. President, I'm tired of looking back at Vietnam, and I'm tired of my country looking back. It's time to move forward. And if you normalize relations, I will defend you every step of the way.
Today, I am announcing the normalization of diplomatic relationships with Vietnam.
I realized because I hadn't served in the military and because I had openly opposed the Vietnam War, I had to have the support of American veterans. If McCain hadn't been there and been willing to step up, I don't think any of it would have happened.